Have you ever wondered why your company suddenly slams the brakes on hiring while your friend over in another industry gets a huge raise? Well, the answer usually has nothing to do with your boss or even how well your friend is doing. It's all about these powerful, invisible forces that are constantly shaping the entire business world. And in this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain on those forces, focusing on the big one that hits your wallet the hardest, the economy.
So, what are these mysterious forces that can literally dictate your career path and your paycheck? Well, let's dive in and solve that puzzle together.
Here's our game plan. We're going to start with the big picture, then we'll get clear on what a company can control versus what it can't. After that, we'll zoom right in on the key economic factors. Then, and this is the important part, we'll connect those factors directly to your work life and wrap up by looking at how businesses are trying to keep up in this crazy, shifting landscape.
All right, Section 1, the world outside business.
Okay, to really get this, just picture any business as a ship at sea. Now, the captain and the crew, they're in charge of everything happening on deck, right? That's the internal stuff. But once they're out on the open ocean, they are completely at the mercy of the weather, the currents, the tides. These are all external forces they have zero control over, but they absolutely have to navigate them to get where they're going. So that brings us to Section 2, inside versus outside forces. The absolute key here is knowing the difference between your ship and the sea, what you can control and what you just have to react to.
And this chart breaks it down perfectly. Over on the left, you've got your internal environment, things like company culture or internal policies. That's all happening on the ship. But on the right, you see the external world, economic growth, new tech, political changes. That, my friends, is the sea. And today, we're taking a deep dive into those powerful economic currents.
Which leads us to Section 3, economic factors. Okay, now we're going to zoom in on the specific forces that have a direct impact on HR and, by extension, a direct impact on you.
First up, population and workforce. You know, at its most basic level, this is the raw material for any company. It's the people. The size of the population, the skills people have, how many are available, all of this determines whether a company can even find the talent it needs to operate and grow.
And what's really interesting is how HR pros look at this. They don't just see one giant population. Nope, they filter it down. They start with the total number, then narrow it to who's actually eligible to work. Then they consider the workforce reserve. You know, students, homemakers, people who could work but aren't right now. What's left is the active workforce. That's the real talent pool they're fishing.
Next, we've got labor market conditions. This is just classic supply and demand, but for jobs. Is it an employer's market where there are tons of applicants for every single role? Or is it an employee's market where companies are practically fighting each other for top talent? That balance is exactly what makes the job market feel either super competitive or full of opportunity.
And here's the thing. Companies don't look at the entire labor market. They define what they call a relevant market. And they do that based on three things: the specific profession and its skills, the geography, like how far are people willing to commute, and the industry itself. This is how they laser focus their recruiting efforts.
Okay, now let's talk about the money. National income, which is basically the average income per person in a country, sets the entire baseline for salaries. This is precisely why the exact same job can pay a wildly different amount in, say, Switzerland versus Thailand. The local economy sets the starting point for every single paycheck. And then there's inflation. Oh man, this is the silent salary killer. As the cost of everything, gas, groceries, rent goes up, the actual value of your paycheck goes down. This puts huge pressure on companies to give raises, not for great performance, but just so their employees can afford to live.
And here's a fantastic real-world example of that. In India, a lot of employees get something called a dearness allowance. You can think of it like an automatic anti-inflation bonus. It's tied directly to the cost of living index, so when prices go up, that part of their paycheck automatically goes up too, just to help them keep pace.
Okay, Section 4, how economics shapes work. We've seen all these different forces. Now, let's connect the dots and see exactly how they ripple through a company and end up affecting your job.
This table just lays it all out so clearly. You see a tight labor market? Companies have to get way more creative with how they recruit. You see the national income rise? The whole salary structure has to shift up. Inflationary pressure? Well, you can bet pay raises are on the agenda. And the size of the workforce? That dictates the fundamental supply of talent from the get-go. It's a direct cause and effect.
And these forces are always changing. I mean, take the labor market. One projection showed that the hybrid work model was expected to jump to a staggering 81% by 2024. Now, that's not just about people wanting to work from home. It's a fundamental restructuring of the labor market's geography, blowing the doors wide open on the talent pool for companies that are willing to adapt.
And this brings us to our final and maybe most important section, adapting to constant change. Because of the business world as a sea, while the storms are getting more frequent and a lot more intense. So how are companies and the old theories they rely on keeping up?
Well, the short answer is they're not. This quote from 2018 just hits so hard. It points out this massive problem. The real world of work is changing at lightning speed, but the models and theories we use to manage people are basically stuck in the past. They just haven't kept up.
You see, for a long time, the thinking was really black and white. You had two choices. You could manage people using a control system, which is all about rules, tight supervision, and cutting costs, or you could go with a commitment system, which is focused on engagement, training, and building loyalty. It was always presented as an either-or choice. But maybe that's the completely wrong way to look at it. As these economic tides keep shifting, with the rise of the gig economy, AI, and global talent pools, the real question isn't about choosing one or the other, it's about finding a new balance. How can companies build systems that give them the structure and control they need while also unlocking the power of human commitment that actually drives real innovation and growth? That, right there, is the #1 challenge for the future of work.